Coming to you from the Stream.tv studios in Hollywood, California, Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, Avid, Recording Connection, and the Blackbird Academy.
Our guests will talk about one of the most seminal times in rock and roll coming out of London. We've got a brand new contest. We've got a lot of information coming up. It's Grammy and NAMM week. It is nuts. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Man, you're at the place. Ooh. And what a place it is. We got a really great guest for you today. I'm still kind of excited, well, not still, but I'm getting more and more excited about NAMM. You know her gear, engineers, and NAMM.
Ooh, that equals a Woody, pretty much.
A Louisville Slugger.
Oh, for some, for the black ones.
No.
Oh, others
Hispanics
as well.
too.
Okay, cool. Just checking. How are you?
I mean, I wear a 13 shoe. You know what they say.
I know what they say. I'll leave that alone.
Big shoes, big gloves.
That's right. Exactly. We're busy this week, aren't we?
But good busy.
Yeah. Between the NAMM convention and the Grammys, as they're watching this, we're live on the floor.
See all our friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're running back and forth from Anaheim to LA to handle the Grammy stuff. It's pretty cool.
Well, let me say this. When you see us at NAMM, Herb and I are never rude. We always try to spend as much time with you guys as we possibly can. We love talking to you. We love sharing information and learning about you. It's what helps us make the show what it is. Hopefully you think it's good because of that. But at NAMM, it's a little hard to do sometimes, so be patient with us, right, Herb?
Yeah, it's just crazy. So we'll do the best we can, and you guys are certainly understanding. Shall we get to it? We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, all. It's a crazy week at our shop. Hope each and every one of you are good. Yeah. Thanks in advance for liking and subscribing.
For sure.
We certainly appreciate that. Shout out to our family at Vintage King and our family at the Blackbird Academy. Good stuff going on in both of those shops. It is NAMM and Grammy week, as we said. As this gets posted, we're live on the NAMM floor at the Avid booth, 6400 in Building A, 2 p.m. each day. Guests are Thursday, Ariel Recht Shade, Friday, Francois Tataz, our buddy, and Saturday, Miss Macy Gray.
My girl, Macy.
We're going to give away a couple of inboxes and Pro Tools 11s each day, plus you can win some VIP passes to a live taping of Pensado's Place smack dab in Hollywood. So if you're interested in doing that, you'll see our team running around at the booth and get yourself one. Stop by and see us. Dave and I would love to see you. Couple of cool Grammy things you should watch out for. Earlier this week, we were special guests at the annual Grammy Producer and Engineer Soiree at Village Recorders. We had our own booth in the tent and in Studio A, and we got lots of cool interviews and footage. Lots of incredible people there like Rick Rubin and T-Boone Burnett, Ringo Starr, Neil Young, and a ton more. Watch for that. Also, we were invited by the Grammys to take our cameras backstage to shoot an exclusive backstage tour of all the gear and audio setup that is used at the actual Grammy show. This is the real deal, where you'll see the artist audio setup, the incredible complexity that goes into putting on the largest musical television show on the planet. A very serious endeavor, exclusively from us, exclusively to you. Thanks to Maureen and all the folks in the Grammys and Robbie Klein and Chevy and everybody. We'll show both of those things in the next week or so. One of the things we've been talking about, we teased last week, is we are very, very excited to announce the Pensado Recording Connection Apprentice sweepstakes. Here's how it works. For the next 4 weeks, we will give 3 6-month apprenticeships away each week to some fortunate entrants. 3 a week for 4 straight weeks. You'll get to stay in your hometown or very near it. You'll work one-on-one with a veteran engineer or producer and better your craft starting day one. You are learning hands-on from the moment you walk in for free. If you looked at the Joe Barresi episode last week, you'll notice he talked about how that kind of learning is invaluable. Dave talked about it as well as I do. Cannot beat it. So here's what you do. Go to pensadosplace.tv/recording connection. Just enter your email to qualify, and that's it. The team will select 3 winners each week. We'll announce each week for a month. Once you're picked, there's a short vetting process to make sure you're serious. This is not for people who are screwing around. These are for people who want to go to the top. Once they get through that vetting process, they'll match you with a mentor close to where you live, and you get started. Once you're done with the program, they have a placement service to help you find work at the end of the course. You kind of can't beat that, correct, Dave?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's by definition mentoring.
Yeah.
And that's how we all really got to where we wanted to be.
When you go to the page, you'll see information from the brass. We recorded them talking about the school. It's on the landing page. It will help you answer any additional questions that you may have. This is a major, major growth opportunity for you. Frankly, it's a 6-figure commitment from them, from Recording Connection, to give you a chance at your dreams. Don't stifle it. We always tell you, when the window of opportunity opens, step through it, right? If you don't do that, it's not going to happen. Major, major stuff here. Jimmy and Brian, thank you so much on behalf of our audience. Jimmy. You guys are tremendous partners. We're really excited for you. And lastly, one more week to roll out major details on the mission known as the Pensado Awards. The community continues to coalesce around it. Our producer and engineer friends have been talking to us about it at NAMM all week and at the Grammy stuff all week. Our event team is killing the details. So we're going to roll all out all that pertinent information very soon, and we'll get you going.
Are we going to invite anybody to go backstage at our event?
At our event? Sure.
Okay,
if you
good.
want to, we'll do that. Support continues to come in each week. We thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
This is a mission and it's a cause. The thing that everybody loves is we get to bring our audio community together. We get to celebrate those who might not have gotten attention. We've been able to pull together a great team. Karen Dunn is the best in the business. Because of your support, we were able to get her involved. That's where we're submitting that dough, and we are very excited. Fundanything.com/Pensado is the place to support and get info. Of course, we'll lay it out on the show as well. It's going to be fabulous. Dave, that's a lot of information. Introduce our ITL.
Well, this is one of those ITLs where I was doing a mix and I ran across something that I wanted to share with you, and check it out. Hey guys, sometimes just a regular vocal delay isn't enough. And so I was trying to come up with something that would mirror some of the power and intensity in Jorge's vocal on D Mechanic. And this is what I came up with. I copied the original vocal, which is here, the green one, and then I put it down here, shifted that whole track a quarter note to the right or late. So now, whenever you hear this track, it's going to be a quarter note behind the original. And on the second track, we're going to turn this into a delay. So every time you hear the second track, it's going to be a quarter note behind, but we're not going to listen to it all the time. We're just going to weave it in and out, and we're going to record that information with automation. Now, this stuff is kind of inconsequential, but the important part about this track that we're using is we're using trash. Now, you can use any bit crusher you've got, lo-fi, whatever you've got. Now, this is generating a lot of noise, but that's a good thing. We're not mad at that. We're radioizing it. We're bandpassing it between 700 and 6K. You can alter that, and then because we've got so much noise, we've got a gate on after it. We can control. We want the noise to be musical. The noise is a good thing. Now, let me show you what this track is going to sound like just by itself. Okay, now you notice the output of this track is going to what I call phasey verb. Now, phasey verb is just an effect, another effect, a delay, some EQ, a little bit of deverb, and the phase that makes it phasey verb. Now, without the reverb, without the phasey verb, so that's optional, whatever you want to do. Now let me show you how we're using it. So let's put, this is my fader that controls this level here. If you're not familiar with Pro Tools, I know some of you guys aren't. So I'm going to put this fader into record. let's start over here. Now, you can draw it in. I like to put them in real time. I like to move faders sometimes. Faders and knobs, faders and knobs. Here we go.
Hate it when I miss you, but now you're not around.
Okay, so I missed that a little bit. Let's just tighten it up. So let's check and see what we got. Oops. Let's see what we got.
I hate it when I miss you, but now you're not around.
That's so cool. I love it. And that's it. A new way to add some delays to a vocal, and in the process, get to make a little phasey verb. All right.
Hey guys, when Dave and I talked about our current guest, whose name is Adam Moseley, one of the things that we loved about him is there's just such a rich history that you should know about. Sometimes you predict your future by knowing your past, and this guy has had an incredible history. Adam, welcome to our desk, bud.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for dropping by, Adam.
Yeah.
Start right away with the phase in London, the Trident phase, the stuff around, and how mentorship was important back
Yeah,
there.
it was essential. I grew up in Brighton, had a band at school, we were crap. So I thought, okay, I have to get to London. I went to university in London, studied law for a year, and tried to get into studios because I had a band at university and we were crap. So then it was like, okay, I have to get into a studio. My dad was a jazz musician, was always bringing vinyl home. Always on the back of the vinyl, the producer was the big name.
Yes, indeed.
And I thought he must be the guy that knows how to do it.
We'll be that guy.
So I become one of them.
Yeah.
So I wrote to about 100 studios. I was 20 years old, and already I was too old.
Wow.
Because especially then, they wanted you, without finishing your education, without finishing the equivalent of high school at like 15, 16, to join the studio so that they could mold you in their likeness.
Abbey Road had that requirement also?
I think it was just a general kind of thing that they wanted you fresh so that they, without preconceptions, and I studied and traveled a bit.
It's like the labels with pop artists, huh?
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah.
Give some history of some of the artists that you've worked with, just so our audience.
Okay. I mean, over the years, I've worked with a variety of artists from, let's go back to Roxette, The Cure, Kiss, Rush, so many people, just a little bit with doing soundtrack for Spike Jones with one of the AES with Nick Zinner, Nikka Costa with Lenny Kravitz, which was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
We're tracking everything live.
Wow.
I love your John Cale records too.
Yeah, I've just finished another album with John Cale. I've done 5 projects with him over the last 9 years.
I remember the Nikki Costa and Lenny record,
Lots of stuff I've done, record with Baba Mal, who became more known through Peter Gabriel, Tarvin Singh, Richard Marx, Maxi Priest.
So it's a real wide,
really
diverse.
diverse.
Is that
because
of your taste? Is that just because it interests you and stimulates you? What?
Yeah, it interests me and stimulates me. I've never wanted to make similar records. And whatever I've done on one record, when I get the next project, I have to start over. I have to rethink it. I have to, from the first time I listened to the demos, which if I'm in a project already and I get sent something, I may not listen to the next project for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll let people know I'm not being rude, but my head is completely immersed in the project I'm doing, and when I'm free and can come to something fresh, then I'll listen to the next project, because that first listen is where you get all your ideas.
Right.
It's like you listen to the song, and it's a complete open book. You never know where it's going to go, and the verse may be happening, and you think it's going to go to the chorus, but it doesn't. It teases you and it pulls back.
Yeah.
Or the verse goes on too long, and you think something should be happening by now, and it's not happening.
So were those disciplines learned back during the Trident time and learned from the mentors that you were around?
Absolutely. back to the Trident thing. So I got in to Trident as a chef and a builder. That's how I got hired.
Of many talents.
Yeah, and working at McDonald's was the beginning of my.
It's a great place to learn chefing.
Yeah, there should be a book on people that started at McDonald's.
Absolutely.
I worked at the first McDonald's in Stockholm.
Wow.
And then got into a restaurant and learned to cook. And it so happened Trident were enlarging the control room, and they needed someone to help with the construction workers and cook for everyone at night. And that's why I got hired.
Wow.
Really? As
Yeah.
a chef?
As a chef and a
I thought it was
construction
more like a
worker.
T-boy type chef.
Oh no, I had to work up to T-boy.
Wow.
At that time, T-boy was the lowest form of life. So I guess I was like an amoeba. Or something, but not amoeba
And then
records.
after T-boy, it went to tape op, right?
Yeah, but after tape, if you survived through T-boy, then you had to go into the copying room for a while. Then you had to go into disc cutting, mastering. They had a great mastering engineer. And then you had to assist in there. Ray Staff was the mastering guy. Then you had to go into the maintenance tech department and assist in there or learn in there. And what was happening was every department were vetting you to see if you were the caliber or the kind of person that could handle the pressure of being on the session.
What was the attrition rate of the say if 20 people started on average, how many people made it to?
At every level, generally there was one extra person, and every month someone would get fired. So if they needed 3 T-boys, there'd be 4.
Yeah.
And almost every month, one of them would get fired. And it might be the guy that had been there longest and was next in line for promotion, but maybe someone else had come in, or maybe he'd made a mistake, and that was it.
That was it.
There was
Like the American Idol of
I was getting ready to say
Yeah,
the same thing.
there was
Yeah,
no,
it's
there was
Celebrity
no room,
Apprentice.
no room for error.
No, there wasn't.
Adam, there's a quote of yours that just keeps sticking with me. I can't get it out of my brain. Creating emotion in music is the art and purpose of production.
Yeah.
And I love that quote. And I also, the more I've learned about you over the years, the more I realize that what I thought were a lot of unique ideas that I had, actually you came up with before I did.
Well, no, maybe we share them from the same great sources.
Did you guys work out the publishing?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've copywritten the phrase. But
Okay, cool.
But your concepts of emotion through sound and energy, and using emotion through depth, width, space. Let's start down that path, because I could talk to you about that for 3 days.
Right.
Explain to me how you think about and organize sound for emotion. Let's start there.
Well, we know that music, the purpose of music should be to move people, and that whether it makes them happy or sad, you know, hopefully not suicidal, or want to go out and dance all night, or go out and punch someone in the face. If that was, you know, I came through the whole punk era, so I know about.
Were you a mod or a rocker?
I'm from Brighton. I was a mod.
Okay.
Ben Sherman.
Okay.
Still true to Ben Sherman. Yeah, Kinks,
Yeah,
Small Faces,
absolutely.
Traffic, those bands.
Ooh, don't say traffic.
So we, you know, with the punk stuff, it was using music and instruments, using amplification to get a message across that they were pissed off. You know, and it succeeded in doing it because it was brutal, it was coarse, it was raw.
Yeah.
So the object of any music should be to convey the emotion and try and touch someone, even if it means you want them to go out and punch someone in the face. If that's your purpose, then achieve it through your sounds and through your music. That comes down to crafting the musical parts for a start, and the sound of the musical parts. How do you create emotion in music? What is this? When you hear a song, apart from obviously the vocal and the lyric, sometimes it's the sound of an instrument. It's the bass, the tone of the bass, or the melody of the bass that creates the emotion. Sometimes it's the reverb on the drum snare that creates the emotion, or an impact of a guitar on Radiohead Creep. When that guitar cracks in, if they hadn't kept the whole thing so subdued, it wouldn't have had the impact for its first entry.
Yeah.
And so it's understanding arrangement of musical parts. And then
By arrangement, are you talking about classic arrangement, like Beethoven type
Yeah,
arrangement?
yeah, absolutely. I think, as you guys know, I teach at UCLA. I also teach at the Garnish Music School on Melrose. And the first two pieces of music I play, the course is about production. What is the process of production? I play Beethoven's Seventh, Opus 92, Allegretto, and then, which is a beautifully arranged piece of music. And when you listen to the orchestra, the arrangement is moving. It starts with the cellos on one side, the celli, then it repeats the same melody but quieter, so that when it comes back in and the image shifts over to the violins and violas, it's louder because the dynamic dropped.
Yep.
But the melody is always the same. It's just a revolving melody. But through the arrangement, even then he was using his sonic field. Now it's the space between our speakers, above them, below them, behind them, and in front of them in 3D sound with two speakers. But that's our sonic field. Composers back then, they knew the auditorium that they were going to be performing in. They knew how many trombones they would need in their section for a certain piece to project the sound, or how many oboes, or maybe if it's a flute part, double it with piccolo so it will cut and balance. They were, to me, they were the first music producers. Working within the sonic field for the listener with two ears, working in stereo and arranging the orchestra, which hasn't changed its setup in hundreds of years.
Right.
You know, because it works.
Yep.
So the essence of production to me is, first of all, working on your musical parts and getting every note to have a reason and to be there for a purpose and not to clutter, not to consume space, which it doesn't need to, and leave it for someone else. And then by creating the sound of those musical parts, it's, you know, you create musical notes and make parts out of them. Then when you've got the parts, you determine the sound of that part. And I visualize from the get-go. I imagine my picture, where I'm going to place my instruments.
You're visualizing a mix down.
Absolutely. From pre-production, I'm visualizing the mix.
Which is not dissimilar to you.
That's what I'm saying. We have so many things.
Yeah.
And I can draw the shape of the drums. I can draw the perspective of the space that the drums will take in my mix.
Stupid question. Do you put your hi-hat on the left or the right?
I had this discussion. I had this discussion yesterday.
Because I'm a hi-hat on the left guy.
Audience perspective. I'm not a drummer.
Oh, okay. So you like audience perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I was on stage all my life.
Right.
So I like.
Yeah, I tried being on stage, and that's why I decided to be behind the glass.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Right, no, it's fine. No, but I understand for a drummer, if I'm mixing a record, it's going to completely mess with the drummer to hear his kit back to front. So I'll ask the drummer, you know, is this going to mess with you? Yeah. If it's going to mess with the drummer and spoil his enjoyment, then I'll mix drummer perspective. I don't mind. My preference is to mix visually as if I'm watching a performance.
Let me see if I'm following you so far, because I want to stay up with you.
Yeah.
I tend to think of like 1 to 2K, 3K is the energy, the excitement.
Yeah.
I tend to think of like the bass is conveying power, and the drums conveying credibility, and the top end is defining genre. If it's too bright, it's pop. If it's too dark, it can be another genre. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
No, I
I didn't think it was. Just want to make sure.
Is that it now? Am I out? Often I'll take the bass, unless it's a driving bass part, you know, in a rock track where it needs to be pumping down the middle with the drums. Often I'll take the bass and stereo it and widen it. I used to do that in the old days with an SPX 90 with the symphony setting,
just talked about that,
which was fantastic.
Yeah.
If I've got a crunching sound that I want, if I've got a driving drum kit, I'll use the Dynamite, which I love, which I know you guys spoke about as well. On a mono mic, compress it, distort it, get my beautiful drum sound, get my beautiful stereo image, and then feed the mono mic distorted, compressed to hell, feed it back in to bring the point forward, the attack. But sometimes the emotional point for me of a song will be the warmth of it. And you need to have this surrounding warmth come out of the speakers. When the first bass note happens, I want it to sound like it's just come out and put its arms around you, like it's warm water or you parent with a warm towel. And I want that bass to come out and come around you. So even if it was a mono bass, I'll take it out of the middle, I'll put it into some kind of stereo thing. It used to be symphonic, it used to be a Dimension D with a similar chorus
All
thing.
4 buttons.
Yeah, now there's various plugins you can use. I love Nectar to do that, you know, and sometimes give it a little bit of sizzle as well, but widen it and take the middle
For
out.
American, that's nectar, but yeah, go
Right.
for isotope. Go ahead. It's translating for you.
Yeah, I've been here a while, but I still hang on to
Stay true. That's
yeah.
right.
It sounds more expensive when you say
Yeah,
it.
I know. So the focus of the track and the emotional point of the track can come from anything. What I'll do, going back to the arrangement of the musical notes into parts, and then how you arrange those parts in your sonic field. Sometimes I'll mix a verse very mono, just to keep it intimate and keep it small, so that if in the second part of the verse, in the B part or the pre-chorus, if I'm going to introduce something, I can introduce something slightly to the side to start to widen it, which also gives the listener a clue that maybe something's coming, you know. And then if it's a song, for instance, with acoustic guitars that are going to come in on the chorus, which is your bright end, which is your sizzle, which is your excitement, when it hits the chorus, I'll punch wide on the acoustic guitars, and suddenly you've got a double dynamic of your stereo image has gone wow like that, your high frequencies have flown in, and the whole track has just leapt without volume. It's because you kept the space available at the sides, and you didn't necessarily put high frequency things at the sides. So when they come in, even at a normal level, they have such an impact because you're introducing the high frequencies.
So I have a question. Our show has become, it really started out as, sort of a magnet for learning, which we're really proud of.
For me, mostly learning.
And me too.
And I learn every day. Every time I sit down, I learn.
And that's a characteristic, I think, of our generation. I'm curious about, as you're teaching students now, are they curious about the learning? Do they understand that concept? Are they interested in that? What do you see?
Yeah. I know you guys talk a lot about mentoring, and that was something that at Trident I was lucky to have been mentored by some of the greats. I'll pull me back on track in a minute. But,
Sure, no.
But what we touched on earlier, I studied at Trident in '78, January 12, '78. The guys I learnt from were the guys who had worked for Ken Scott, Tony Visconti, Roy Thomas Baker.
Wow.
I worked
Tom
with...
Down,
Yeah.
Mutt Lang.
Yeah, Mutt Lang was the first producer
Phil
I ever
Ramone.
saw. Yeah, I worked with Phil Ramone.
Yeah.
Mutt Lang was the first studio I ever saw in the control room. The first time I was allowed in as a T-boy at 3 a.m. to stand in the corner as long as I didn't breathe. because the air was to be for more important people.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
I wasn't worthy yet of the air that they might require.
That's lovely.
So, you know, I could stand in the corner and try not to pass out. But Mutt Lang was the first producer I ever saw.
Amazing.
In a room. The first record I ever saw being made more closely at Trident was Peter Gabriel's third album.
Wow.
Which was just
Incredible.
sensational.
Yeah.
But within that era, one of my greatest mentors was Mike Stone, who had done the Queen albums. Mike had started at Abbey Road, switched to Trident, as did Ken Scott. Mike engineered the Queen albums for Roy Thomas Baker. And during a period of 3 years, I worked on 4 Kiss albums with Mike. When they all did the solo albums, I worked on Paul's solo album and Jeans, and then lots of records with Mike. He is absolute lovely guy.
Was there like I can't think of a European analogy, maybe Manchester United and something Real. Was there a competition between Abbey Road and Trident, like Lakers Celtics?
Yeah, there kind of was. Abbey Road was very different. But Abbey Road was very institutionalized. It was very corporate. It was like the BBC. It was owned by EMI. So the engineers had to wear jackets and ties and stuff.
Oh,
I
really?
like that.
And Trident was known, let's say, as being a little more rock and roll.
Gotcha.
Which is why the Beatles moved there to do the White Album. And then Bowie did his first 3 albums. Ziggy Stardust, Life on Mars. Elton John did his first 3, Your Song. The Trident piano was legendary. Carly
Yeah.
Simon flew over with Richard Perry to do You're So Vain.
Oh, really?
Nilsson did Without You.
Wow.
Queen did Bohemian Rhapsody. Lou Reed did Transformer.
I didn't know Lou Reed did that there.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Trident piano was kind of legendary, and Trident encouraged you to be a little bit of a personality, a little bit more.
Just don't breathe when you're doing it.
Yeah, and don't breathe without permission. Absolutely don't talk without permission.
That's
Oh,
part of
yeah.
your learning curve, sure. So today's student is curious and hungry?
Yeah, because these kind of opportunities don't exist anymore.
Right.
You know, during my years, I've been in various studios. I've had various opportunities where I'd had an assistant maybe for 2 or 3 years, or had a studio for a few years in LA, and I could bring people through and nurture people. And sometimes it would be kids coming out of a school.
Right.
Sometimes it would be someone who turned up at the door asking if there was a job going, and I just liked their vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought, you know what? You have the vibe. I can teach you the rest.
Right.
You know, but you've got the vibe, and I can see you working on a record with me 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. I can see you interacting with people. I can see bands being comfortable within sometimes the mayhem that goes on. They have to be comfortable with the person in the room.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Not because he's my partner. I think your capacity to find assistants is by far the best I've ever seen.
Thanks,
Well,
Rob.
you're just the track record speaks for itself. It doesn't matter what I think. Just person after person after person after person is turned
I'm
into-
blessed. I'm blessed.
and you know, there's something about your eye and your ability to see what you're talking about.
It's
something
coming
comes
from
off
the
of them,
same
right?
thing. Sometimes I'd go to a different studio, you know, back in analog days,
Yeah.
and the reels of tape would arrive, and I'd look at the assistant and the way that they walked up to the tape machine. And the way they walked
Yeah,
up to the
that's
machine,
true.
I could know whether they were on top of their game or not,
That's
and whether
true.
I could trust them with my reels of tape,
That's true.
or whether I was going to have to jump in quickly from the get-go and show them,
Yep.
you know, relax, it's okay, this is how you do it, this is, you know, I could spot it, and that's obviously
Yeah.
what you're able to do. But the nurturing thing,
Yeah.
just that, I think it's the most valuable thing for the students is sharing these experiences which are not available anymore.
No question.
You can't learn this at home.
You cannot.
You can't learn this unless day to day the opportunities that we had. Every day at Trident, sometimes you'd turn up not knowing what record you were on. It was always a major record. At the time you didn't know. Sometimes the band's name would change. By the time the record came out, you'd work on a record, especially in the punk days, you'd work on a record for 3, 4 days, 5 days. They were out, the next punk band were in. 3 months later, the record was out with a different name. And you go, those guys look familiar.
Right,
That
right,
sounds
right,
familiar.
right,
I think
exactly.
I did this. you know.
Exactly.
But they weren't called that.
Yeah.
But every day was something major.
Is there a record that's out now that kind of exemplifies some of the concepts that you're talking about
Yeah.
in terms of the emotion and stuff?
Yeah. I've got 3 favorite artists and 1 record that does that. My 3 favorite artists are a band from Manchester, although I'm an Arsenal fan, called Elbow. They've been around for about 10 years.
Sure.
Their sound landscaping is amazing. The textures they use, the placement of the instruments, the arrangements of the parts, the lead singer's voice, his lyrics are phenomenal. Sometimes I'll listen to their mixes and something will fly out and I'll go, that is so loud. That's insane.
Right.
You know, I would never have done that. You know, but then I go, that's why it's brilliant, because it should never be that loud.
Right.
You know, and it throws me. So I love Elbow for their music. An artist called Laura Marling, who's also an English artist now in LA, and a band called Volcano Choir, which is Justin Vernon from Bon Iver, with Confessions of Colonies of Bees
Wow.
together.
Wow.
And their sonic landscaping and understanding of arrangement and painting their picture is, and texture, just texture of voice with the music and the way they color everything and blend it and find the space and pump out a chorus and then suck it back in and bring it back down
Yeah.
and rebuild the arrangement
Yeah.
and rebuild the sound and the frequencies and then punch out again.
And what about the record?
The record is Lord Royals.
Oh, yeah. Insane.
It's, yeah.
Insane.
the first 30, 40 times I heard it on the radio, I could never hear it because my friend was always singing over it, and I could never hear the song. And I think, okay, this is catchy.
Right.
And then finally, I thought, I actually want to listen to this. So I sat down on my setup and turned it up, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
The discipline in the arrangements. The only other person I know that has that is James Blake.
Wow.
The discipline this applies to him as well. The discipline in the arrangements, the confidence of a sound, and knowing he doesn't, with Lord or James Blake, knowing they don't have to layer up the bass sound. It will be one bass sound,
right.
and it does it.
Right.
The part on Royals, the bass part is so simple. On the second verse, a second little reverse bass comes in. Nothing ever changes. There's the smallest little fill going to the first chorus, which is different going to the second chorus. Everything is so minimal, so exact, so precise. And I just had to stand back in amazement and appreciation of the confidence that they had of knowing this one kick drum works.
Right.
You turned me on to James Blake, and there's one of his videos that has like 14 million views. I can't remember the name of the song. He performed it on Leno or Letterman recently.
Right.
Begins with an R, I think.
Yeah.
But you guys should look that up. It's pretty impressive.
It's stunning. It was the first release from his new album, and the name has completely escaped me.
Well,
it starts with an R. It's amazing.
Speaking of questions, let's introduce our guy Chongor over in the corner office. Swaggy C, you over there?
Yep, Sean.
You got a couple of questions for our guy?
Yeah, I do. This first one's from Andrew Champalox. How do you keep a recording, or how do you keep a record exciting when working on a song that is all overdubs?
By having a plan.
I'm assuming he means from a mix perspective, I guess.
All right, is that mix or from the get-go of
I don't know. Can you do both?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, the first listen of a song, I get a demo and I listen, and the chorus arrives, and you go, wow, or you go, oh,
Yeah.
it didn't drop, it didn't deliver. So the first listen, you have those impressions. The second listen, you already know that the chorus is going to disappoint you a little bit. It doesn't have the same impression on you.
Yeah.
So that first listen is why I take time to listen, make notes furiously as the song goes through, love the build of the verse. Second verse needs something. Second verse is too long, should cut it short. Extend an extra bar before the chorus, build the suspense, do a dropout. So those ideas come. And then in pre-production, you work on the parts. If it's with the band and there's going to be a lot of fills, we'll try every fill the drummer wants to throw in every part of the song until we identify the fills that work and then where they work best in the song. Not to kill the song, but to rule out 95% of stuff that doesn't work and be left with the absolute cream.
Yeah.
So that when you get to the studio, all the energy is concentrating on everything that you've agreed works, and you've already sorted out the best and eliminated the things that don't work. So you're not wasting time faffing around working out which drum fill you already know.
Too.
It's about performance and focus.
Absolutely. Chongor, give us another one.
From Oyvind Larson.
Oyvind.
What is your preference on drum triggering, and how often do you use it in your mixes and productions?
I think that's a
What is your preference on drum
He wants to know if
triggering?
you use samples with your drums, trigger samples.
Generally live, I don't use triggers unless the drummer comes with that, unless it's part of the band. I'm always about capturing the band's sound. So again, through pre-production, I'll discover what the band's sound is. We'll talk about drums, we'll talk about guitars. If the drummer's going to use triggers, and that's an integral part of their sound, then that's what I'll go with. Sometimes if I have to do sound replacement, I like, I'll often use Ableton or Battery 3, I like. Just as tools within Pro Tools to replace or add sounds.
Now, I have two questions. One is, will you come back?
Yes.
Good. That's the
'Cause
right
I-
answer.
You can breathe next
I
time.
think because I think I don't I think I didn't answer a single question fully.
You gave us a lot of information, and
There's just so much of your concepts and philosophies that,
Yeah.
You couldn't do it in one
just
show.
can't fit it in one show.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do a series of. I don't want to
Yeah.
give away the nucleus of your lectures. People should go pay
Right.
and see those. But
Yeah.
Right.
at the same time, there's so many things we think.
Well, that was my second question.
Yeah.
My second question is, we should drag our happy behinds over to UCLA
Yeah.
and go see his class. We
Yeah,
should.
absolutely.
So
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
absolutely.
We're up against the clock. This was one of those hours to me that where you
Went
just
by
get to
fast.
educate.
Do we get the penalty shootout thing?
We're going to do that on the comeback. We certainly appreciate Adam. We've got to come
Pleasure.
back for us. And it was such a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Adam.
We're excited
And
to
thanks
have
for
you.
turning me on to several new artists.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. The experience is
Oh,
invaluable.
what was
to
the
our audience.
Latin artist you worked with, real quick?
A band from Chile called Lucy Bell did one album in LA. Then I went to Chile and Argentina and did a
That's
second
great
album
record.
with them.
Real cool rock.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
cool.
lot of the time signatures in 6/8, which is
Nice.
used a lot in Latin rock, and it's elbow work in 6/8 a lot. It's one of the most expressive time signatures. I love it.
Take us
Allman
home,
Brothers
DP.
too. Whew, guys, when you find someone in this world of audio that has parallel concepts to your own, albeit they're much more advanced and deeper and better than mine, it's just comforting because sometimes you just never know if what you're doing is right. So I'm glad that you guys got to spend some time with my friend Adam, and check out some of the examples he gave, and check out some of the concepts. And we'll see you next week.